and I got stuck. And I couldn't move. I was trying to floor it out of there, could not move. The water's rising, and my vehicle starts shifting and moving. And my daughter is like, Mom, what are we gonna do? And
Hey friends, so I am about to head to the shed shop. We are gonna try and finish out our sheds this week and get everything delivered and where it needs to go. And I shared before that, you know, the day would come when this project was over and there wasn't a need for it, and we would move to supporting individual families. And that's where we're at. So a lot of people donated. The Amish came and built a bunch of sheds, and a lot of people started doing this. And so we have found the need is more specific now to individual families and helping people. One of the issues too is people just don't have land. I did a video. If you haven't watched it, they're gonna take the land. It's happening. So that, it unfortunately will move people out of the region. So, you know, the hope is they get what the value of the property is, so that they can actually go on to buy something else. But, you know, I have concerns that's not going to happen, not at the value, because property value is so high here already. Housing was already a huge struggle. So to add this to our already not functioning housing system is very devastating. It's really going to be a hardship on a lot of people who were affected by this storm. So I'm just making my coffee. Again, not eating out, not drinking out. Shouldn't anyway. Those coffee cups are plastics and chemicals in them. My house is a mess. Don't look, don't judge. Wait, I can't even turn the camera to hide it because it's all a mess. And I can't even blame it on being busy because we were home all weekend. It just is. So we're shifting gears to help individual families, and I'm excited about that. I'll link the GoFundMe I have going right now. This is a family that I have been friends with for a few years now. We met them when we were in a home church, and they've just had a lot of hardships with this hurricane and in general. And they're in a camper, and a lot of campers are being donated, which is amazing. And I lived in a camper, but campers don't last that long, especially if you're living in them. And so we recently sold ours, and it was like the biggest weight had been lifted off of me, because once they start leaking, and what was happening is water will, in most of them, they're not undercover, the water will leak and like trail on the slides, and then it gets in and it rots everything. And once you get like a water trail, it just grows and grows and grows. So we sold ours as is, and the person that bought it knew the damage, and he just likes to repair and fix up campers. I'm personally a fan of sheds being converted into homes over campers if it's going to be a long-term thing, because when the water gets into a camper, mold is like that. And that's what this family is experiencing. Their camper did not withstand the water of Hurricane Helene, like most campers don't. They live in it. They raise 4 children in it. They've been trying to save for land for a long time, but you know, it's impossible to do in these economic times. And they are going to use that land to help other families with tiny structures, campers, whatever it might be. So they have a mission and have had a mission for a long time in ministry in that area. And so it actually would give us a place to put some of the sheds for people that need them, because there is a huge gap there. There is people in need and nowhere for them to put our shelters that we're offering them, which then makes it pointless, right? So that's where we're at. I put a GoFundMe below if you want to participate. And I'll be filming and introduce you guys to the family. Maybe today, actually. They actually helped me find people over in their area, which was also devastated. It's a totally different area than we live in. And that's where we're headed today, now that I think about it. So I can introduce you to the family. And we are hopefully gonna get this shed in place, 2 of them. As I was editing this video, I actually got some information. So I'm just going to pop in some B-roll here and explain. It looks like, because we're talking about land in this, I just got word from some realtors that FEMA is looking to buy a bunch of land and taking the land to put their trailers that nobody wants. And it's actually really frustrating information. And I will find out more. We're going to put a call in and kind of get the details of what's going on there. So I'll give you guys an update. But, you know, taking more land to be used for what they deem is right and to temporary house people, like it doesn't solve our long-term housing struggles here for the people. It's a temporary thing with their sheds that they got sued for having because they were causing cancer with people because they're so poorly made. I'm also going to pop in a flyer right here so you can take a look at this. There are now clinics that will help you figure out how to get your FEMA money after you were denied. So now 48 days into this, you have to go to a clinic to learn how to reapply because you were denied. That's how many people are being denied, $750, 48 days past this storm. Here's the towers. I need to juice. That's probably going to have to happen tomorrow. My boys and husband finished the first woodshed. We're building 2 of them because, yes. And look at the gorgeousness. Sorry, the yard's a mess. Everything's a mess. We're getting our lives in order. Look at this gorgeousness. So one of the ways I'm going to maximize what I grow in the spring is to go tall. And so that was my experiment tower. Worked out amazing. So all you do is add more extensions. I'm actually going to go one higher for some of them. The reason is, obviously, you grow more food in the same amount of square footage. It's cheaper than buying more towers. I can actually go one more higher if I actually can go 2 higher. Extensions is what I'm talking about, which is really tall. If I set them up on an automatic feeder, like a farm would have, a tower farm. And so I'm going to work on that. I'm going to build it out myself. So I'll take you guys along. I have a friend who offered to help me set that up. And that just means I can grow more food, which is the goal. So I need to get into growing our own beans for dry storage. That's one gap I want to fill next year. And aside from that, and more tomatoes. So I can do all my own. I'm going to can all of our red sauce and all of our salsa for the year. So I probably need like 3 towers set up just for tomatoes to have enough, and then 3, I don't know. I haven't done the math on that yet. But if I go taller, save space, gives me more food without having to buy more towers, which saves a lot of money. All you gotta do is upgrade the pump, and the pumps are inexpensive, and then buy the extensions, and those aren't as expensive as a tower. Look at those skies. We're getting trailed hard today. Okay, someone donated these little homes right here. That's what I was saying about a lot of people are kind of doing this now. And they took a little, I don't know, what do you call that? Cargo thing and turned it into a home. Okay, it's been a couple hours. So someone just showed up from Atlanta and has supplies in her truck. Solar generator. She had a tent we needed. So that was amazing. And it's just taken a couple hours to kind of rally and get our act together. We've just been doing things. They're loading up the shed now and we're going to hit the road. All right, there's our shed. And actually the American Red Cross is serving food right now, which is great. And then I just found a gentleman who needs a cooked top. His camper stove stopped working. So I'm gonna go pick that up and drop it back here. And it's just amazing how God works, because we're just standing here and people have needs, and then all of a sudden you find the thing, and you know, it's great. It's like our community is strong and we're gonna make it.
charge with solar?
Yeah.
So I have some indoor lights. So the solar generator is basically up when some does not work.
Is this their porta potty?
Yeah.
That's what they're using.
A church brought it down.
Okay. Did I tell you? All right, guys, so I'm here with Shelly, and we got the shed is being leveled out right now. So I thought we would just take a minute. I can introduce you to her, a little bit about her story, and then how she found this family to help. And I'll show you guys some footage of what's going on here, but this has been a huge blessing. And then Anne just rolled in out of nowhere when I was over at the shed, and she said, hey, I've watched one of your videos. I've got all this stuff. Can I come with you? And we were like, sure.
Why
and she
not?
brought solar generators. What else? Toilets.
Toilet seats for buckets.
Toilet seats for buckets, clothes, food, blankets, sheets, bedding, solar lighting for outside, which Shelly needs because they don't have any lighting where they're at, and it's super dark. And they needed it here. What else did she bring? Heaters, diesel heaters. Medicine. There was something else cool. I was trying to think of it. Stoves, which I needed for another person we just ran into, and his camper stove died out. So yeah, God's doing amazing things.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. I mean, literally just rolled in and was like, can I come with you? And I was like, sure.
Okay, why not?
So tell us a little bit how you found this family.
Well, came and was driving down Old Clyde Road. That's back over right off the river, and I saw all these tents on the other side of the road, and I thought, well, you know what, I'm going to figure out how to get over there. My spiritual son and I, we drove down, and we found them, and we asked them if they wanted sheds, and they were sleeping in tents. They had a camper they were offered, but it's too small, so they decided to take these sheds on. So it's really awesome.
Yeah, they have several tents over there.
Oh yeah, there's several people staying over here because they've lost their own property or their personal belongings, whatever.
Yeah, and it's still quite a mess. Like,
and they're right on the Pigeon River too. So
yeah. And this area, one thing I noticed, and Shelly was saying, like, there's not the donation centers here that we have in other parts, right?
Yes.
As far as supplies, and it doesn't look like there's the same help as far as getting debris and stuff picked up.
No,
it seems to be kind of a forgotten
The shelters
area.
are closing here. American Red Cross just pulled out on the 7th. There's still people displaced. There's people that don't have anywhere to go. The FEMA vouchers are running out here. There wasn't even any hotels close by until just the last 3 weeks ago. Some of the hotels locally are finally taking some of the people that have been lost their property or their homes or have mold, and it's not good. And now really it's like we need to move on to the next thing, is getting these people more permanent structures so they can live in, until they can figure out what's next for their property, or if they're going to be able to stay here.
Yeah, and housing was already an issue here, especially like financially. If you aren't pretty well off, housing is a real problem in a lot of Western North Carolina.
Yeah, and the cost is even in Clyde, the cost is exorbitant in the cost of living. So
are we in Clyde?
Yeah, we're in Clyde.
We're in Clyde, North Carolina. What's my dentist is over here? The kid's dentist.
Yep.
So also they did apply for the $750 FEMA check, and someone stole it out of their mailbox and cashed it.
Actually, no. What happened was they didn't have a mailbox, so it went to the post office, and somebody they don't even know went to the post office and asked for the check, and the post office apparently didn't ID them and took the check. So they've had to cancel the check, and they're still going through the process waiting just to get their $750.
Yeah, and she was saying that they can't get it until they get a fax machine to send in paperwork, which is like a joke. Because they don't make those anymore. And I guess you can do it from your phone, but they don't have phones that are set up like smartphones.
Well, the other thing is that they're being told is they're off grid, but you can clearly see in their property that there was power here, and they're not wanting to reconnect it. they're having issues with the water, but I'm not hearing about just them. I've talked to other people that are helping in this area, and they're saying they're not wanting to reconnect the water or the electricity.
Okay, so we just saw one of the people the sheds is going to take off, and we were just talking about the car situation is a problem too, because a lot of the cars were flooded
Out.
and underwater for a while, so that car's having some problems. Their other one's having some problems. And then Shelly we are working to do a fundraiser. They are in a camper. They've been living in a camper how many years?
7 years.
7 years. So she's basically raised her 4 children in the camper, and it didn't do well with the hurricane, and so now there's mold situation.
Yep.
And Shelly's had to leave because she's more sensitive to that. So the family's separated right now. And really what we're trying to do is raise funds, because they have a mission to start a ministry where they can be a refuge for people in this situation too. So one of the biggest issues we're having is I have sheds and I don't have anywhere to take them right now because people don't own the property, or the property's not going to be allowed to be lived on. And so we've got people who need places and shelter to get their lives back in order, so we can figure out a long-term solution, and we don't have anywhere to put the sheds to even give them help, which is really, frustrating. That part's frustrating. You would think we should just be able to put them anywhere to get people safe, but
Yep, the county's not wanting people to
nice.
live in RVs or sheds here in Haywood County. And the problem is people are being displaced. Like I said earlier, they're closing all the shelters. They're not wanting to hook electricity and water back up, and those are essentials. So we're having to go in and create almost like an off-grid situation for this one particular group of family, so that they can have a more comfortable living situation. Which there's nothing wrong with living off a grid, because that's what I want to do with our own property. But it's just...
you kind of want to do that,
right?
Where these people are being forced into a very difficult situation without the right gear. But we had Ann show up in her magic truck over there, or not magic truck,
that's
her
incredible.
Amazing God truck, and brought solar generators, which is awesome.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. So I was going to have Shelly tell a story about how when they got the notice of the floods, because they are in an area that flooded, it didn't get in the camper, but it definitely penetrated the camper, because campers are not very waterproof, unfortunately, and it did come up pretty high. It didn't touch the floor bottom. Or did it?
The front of it they did, but it came up. We measured right around 15 inches of water on the tire line on our tire covers that we have on the RV. So what happened is we had been watching Jonathan Creek, which was right in a campground where we live, and we had been watching the water in the creek. I wasn't thinking that it would flood through the pasture and come through the property, almost like a water intrusion event, but that's what ended up happening. And I had gone to bed at like 7:50. I'd been up all night. We had drove around in the park, just keep checking on things, and everything seemed okay. The creek was high, but it wasn't at its highest. It was doing okay. I mean, it definitely crested the bank and gone up pretty high. So I went back home and decided to lay down, and then I get this text message from my daughter about 8:10 or so, and I was like so exhausted. So I decided to read the text, and responded to her because my husband and daughter were working out of town at this time. So it was me and 3 of the kids and my spiritual son there. Thankful that he was with us. And then I looked out the window and I noticed that we had at least 4 inches of water in our yard. And it was rising. It wasn't like a fast rise, but it was definitely rising. And I got the spiritual son up and I said, look, I don't know what we should do. We had packed stuff the night before and to get out of there. And so I decided, I froze. And at this moment when I froze, thinking about what should we do, I get this alert come on my phone that says do not go anywhere as all roads closed. And I've never in my life seen something. It was a little bit traumatic and triggering to see that, because I mean, I lived in Texas, hurricanes, floods, tornadoes, fires. I've seen it all, the devastation. It's not anything the devastation I've seen here. So I looked at my spiritual son Brian and I said, what should we do? And he's like, I think we need to leave. Fortunately, we had packed. We weren't as quick as we should have been. Within a 10-15 minute window, the water was still inching higher and higher. over a period of time. And I got 2 of the kids, all of the animals in my Honda, and we decided to leave. Well, I went over into the village to wait for my son to come with my other son and bring our stuff that was packed in the back of his truck. And the entrance point at that area was already starting to flood higher. And so I decided to turn around, and I booked it out to go out the other exit of our campground. And the water was rising even higher there because there's kind of like a ditch drain area up by the office. Well, there was a lady in a Class A that was kind of just parked up at the entrance, and I was flooring it through there because I knew I needed to get out of the flooded area. Well, I forgot where the road was because the water was so high and I couldn't see it. So I ended up going off into a ditch, and I got stuck. And I couldn't move. I was trying to floor it out of there, could not move. The water's rising, and my vehicle starts shifting and moving. And my daughter is like, Mom, what are we gonna do? And fortunately, my spiritual son, Brian, came right up behind me, and I yelled out the window, said, Brian, do something. And he rammed the back end of my Honda and knocked me loose. Meanwhile, his 2-wheel drive was stuck. And we figured it was by the grace of God that we even got out of it. And he slammed the back of my Honda, got us out, and he got out too. And we were able to get on Jonathan Creek. We tried going one direction, it was flooded. We turned around and we started driving back. I mean, there's water going over the roadway, but it's safe to go through there because there's multiple vehicles going through. But oh my gosh, the Jonathan Creek ripped out a bridge that was just sitting in the floodwaters floating. Wow. And then we were able to get on 40 and start heading east further so that we could get over to a friend's house. A friend that decided, through our homeschool community, decided to take us in. And we no more than got there, and we're getting settled and unpacked with the animals and stuff at her trailer that was right beside her house. And we get an evacuation notice. And the evacuation notice said that Lake Junaluska Dam was going to break. So we had to evacuate again. Fortunately, a friend that didn't even live a half mile up the road, up on a higher portion of a mountain, she took us in, and that was the biggest blessing because here I am with me and the 3 kids and the spiritual son, and my husband's not here, other daughter's not here, and it was all really shocking. And I'm so thankful that we lost a lot of our personal belongings outside in a freezer full of organic grass-fed food, but I'm thankful because we could have lost way more. When that moment when I was going to leave our house, I didn't know what I was going to come back to. I didn't know if my house would be home. We wouldn't even say it's a house, but trailer. My home was going to be there, or if it was going to be flooded. And I'm thankful that water didn't flood the inside of the trailer, even the basement. Yeah. But we did have a water intrusion event. So the walls in our master bedroom slide are molded. And I found a nice mushroom growing out of the bottom. Wasn't thinking I was going to be growing mushrooms, but then we noticed that our toilet, apparently the pressure from the water and the pipes breaking, basically our toilet fresh water exploded out and flooded our bathroom floor and our bedroom floor. So we're trying to have to figure out. I'm not staying there now because I have an autoimmune condition, and it's just better for me to not be there. So I'm staying in a family's camper right now away because the campground says they don't have room for us.
With the cell phones too, like you guys got the notice, but one of the things I know in the Tow River area and a lot of the places, there's been the question of why didn't people evacuate? First off, the water was like up here, which is ridiculous, so no one would think, how high did it go up here?
I heard 26 feet.
Yeah, so
the Pigeon River crested 26 feet.
So it went up such ridiculous levels that nobody thought it would go that high, but also the cell phones in a lot of areas went down before the warning to get out came through. Yep. So they actually didn't get the messages because the cell towers had gone down before that happened. So I've heard a lot of those stories. So that's good you actually got the cell.
Yeah.
Because I've heard people sharing that they didn't get them and found out later that one was sent out and it just didn't make it through.
Yeah.
And then I've also heard, and maybe you can answer this, campgrounds aren't taking people. Have you heard that?
There is one. I'm not for sure. I think Pride RV is taking them. Okay. I'm not 100% though, but I know our campground is not. Where I'm staying.
Full? Or are they
no, they're not.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing, and I don't really know. Is it just because I don't know why?
I don't know why
I don't
either.
know if it's
Yeah. Well, they were my campground where I'm living. They were saying it was full because of all the seasonal people come to see the leaf peeping. But the thing is, there's all these sites, and I'm like, can I put my camper there so that I can at least be close to the animals and have that space where home is to be able to do that? But they said they didn't have any sites available, but there's multiple empty sites. It's not like I was asking for a free stay. I was willing to pay. It's just a lot of things just don't add up and don't make sense.
Yeah, and it makes no sense because who in the world is coming here to look at the leaves? Like, don't come here to look at the leaves right now.
Yeah.
It's not, the water's still not on. I heard it just turned on somewhere else in Asheville, but it's not clean water. Like, the goal I heard today on the radio was they're shooting for mid-December before the water is actually clean enough to use without boiling.
Yeah, because there's still a turbidity concern
Yeah.
with that, and they're putting new blockages out in the river to keep the turbidity out.
What is turbidity?
I don't know. I just think debris getting in the water.
Okay,
and
we'll
stuff.
put what turbidity?
Turbidity.
I'll put what that means below in the description. I'll have to look
Yeah,
that one
I
up.
know. But I know that I'm hearing several people are getting weird type of gastrointestinal bacterial infections.
They have it and have had it for weeks. Yeah. So, yeah, bad stuff going around. It's, and weird stuff going around. And,
I wouldn't be surprised if typhoid and typhus. I've already heard reports of cholera going around, waterborne diseases.
And in this city, like early on, the local news was showing people taking buckets out of the the French Broad and using that to flush their toilets and bringing it into their homes. And that water now we know is extremely toxic and filled with so many things.
It's not too. It's more than that. I mean, if it's eating the bottom of people's boots and discoloring them.
Miss Ann over here, she said just from the dust she got rashes on her ankles, so she was trying to stay in the truck because from being out donating things she had gotten some rashes.
So
well, thank you for sharing your story.
Yep.
We have a GoFundMe. We're working to help them get land, and we'll take you guys along on the journey. We hope this is a way to also have a place to put some tractor sheds.
Or RVs, too.
Or RVs, and really start a ministry where there's options for people because it's going to be a real big problem.
Yeah, and it's going to be a long time for cleanup. Yep.
The cleanup, I was just looking at the debris is... I mean, that alone is probably going to take years. It's crazy.
I'm going to build a house next year, and so I bought a box truck. And then I watched a lot of videos and just, so sorry for what happened up here. And I looked at that box truck and I thought, wow, I'm going to fill it up with stuff and take it up to North Carolina and see if I can find anybody that maybe I can brighten their life a little bit. So.
Well, you did. You rolled in. So she rolled in right when we were about to load this shed up and was like, can I come? I've got stuff. And I was like, I don't know. I called Shelly. Can they use stuff? And that's how we ended up here. And it was amazing.
Good.
Yeah, God's working. That's for sure.
Now we're going to go back and see if that tent's put up. If the storage tent's put up.